You asked if it was finally your time. You kept seeing signs but questioned your sanity. You thought maybe you were imagining the shift. You weren't. Everything is about to change because you already did. Now listen closely. This moment isn't random. You didn't land on this video by mistake. You're being divinely notified. The version of life you silently prayed for is already in transit. It's not pending because you're not ready. It's pending because the old you had to die first. And now that you've passed the test, it's on its way. The healing, the peace, the real ones, the money, the clarity, the elevation, the divine rewards. I reclaim my time and energy and space. Welcome. Today we're going to reveal why the life that once seemed so far is suddenly closer than it's ever been, and how to receive it fully without self-sabotage. Because whether you feel it or not, you're no longer the same person who struggled to survive, and the universe knows it. You passed the identity test. You passed the waiting test. You passed the test of what you'd do when nothing was working, but you still had to hold the vision. That version of you who kept showing up despite the silence. That's the one who unlocked this new life. Nobody tells you this, but it's not just about manifestation, it's about metamorphosis. And that's what you've done. You see, when you shift your core frequency, when you stop betraying yourself, when you stop needing external permission, when you finally start living as if you already deserve it, your external world reconfigures. It has to. That's how this reality matrix is coded, but the most powerful shift happens internally before the world ever catches up. So let me ask you, what are you willing to stop settling for now that your divine rewards are reaching for you? Because yes, they are reaching. But if you're still gripping tightly to what you thought you had to tolerate, if you're still explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, if you're still keeping the mask on for their comfort, then you're delaying what was always meant for the real you. This next level doesn't ask you to perform, it requires you to receive. And receiving isn't about chasing, it's about recognizing. Recognizing when the door opens. Recognizing when your body says yes before your mind even catches up. Recognizing that this time you don't need to fight for it. It's finding you. Let this sink in. You didn't beg the universe for what's coming. You became the version of you who can hold it. You don't have to apologize for being powerful now. You don't have to prove your growth to anyone. The new chapter doesn't require you to convince. It requires you to be. They tried to silence you, didn't they? Told you to tone it down. Told you to wait your turn. Told you to be realistic. And for a moment you believed them, but only long enough to realize that they were wrong and your spirit was right. You didn't lose your mind. You found your knowing. And now it's your time. Now listen. You didn't just go through that pain for no reason. You didn't cry yourself to sleep night after night for fun. You didn't lose those people, sacrifice those comforts, or walk away from that old version of life because you were weak. You did it because your soul already knew what was coming, and it knew what had to leave to make room for it. Nobody tells you this, but when the universe is about to send you a radically elevated version of life, it first strips away every single attachment you once used to measure your worth. That's why it felt like death. That's why you thought you were being punished. But chosen ones don't get punished. They get purified. So let me ask you something. What if that loss was protection? What if that betrayal was a redirection? What if the silence was a sacred pause so your nervous system could recalibrate before the blessing hit? See, you didn't lose people. You lost their resonance. Their frequency didn't match yours anymore, not because you're better, but because you're becoming. And you're becoming someone who doesn't operate from survival mode anymore. The version of life that's coming, it doesn't require fear-based thinking. It doesn't demand self-abandonment. It doesn't tolerate smallness, appeasement, or codependency masked as love. Now listen closely, because this is what most people never realize. Your new life is frequency locked. That means you can only access it as the version of yourself who vibrates at the same truth as it does. It's not coming because you wish it. It's coming because you match it. And right now, you're already rising into that alignment, even if it still feels messy. even if you're still doubting. Because real spiritual evolution is not clean. It's uncomfortable, it's disorienting, it's the death of every illusion you clung to for safety. But you didn't come here for safety, did you? You came here for sovereignty, to remember who you are, to rise beyond the noise, to finally walk in the life you were always meant for, before the world told you it wasn't possible. This is what makes you chosen. Not that you're better, but that you remembered. You remembered the promise your soul made. You remembered that the dream was never random. You remembered that your desires are divine instructions, not delusions. So now it's happening because you finally said yes to the version of you who doesn't self-reject. And listen, if you're still afraid of being too much for them, it means you haven't yet realized you were never meant to belong in rooms that shrink you. The spaces that are meant for you will stretch you. They'll honor you. They'll call out your light and not flinch when it glows brighter than their own. You don't have to shrink anymore. You don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to beg anymore. You were never crazy. You were just early. You didn't fit in because you were designed to break the mold. You're not being sent the new version of life because of luck. You're receiving it because your alignment finally said, "I'm ready." And the universe is simply responding. Now breathe, because what's coming is already en route, and your only job now is to not sabotage it. That's the final test. It's not about being perfect. It's about not reverting, not slipping back into the smaller version of you just because that's the one the world felt more comfortable with. Let me ask you something hard. Are you ready to be seen as who you really are? Not the watered down you, not the people-pleasing you, not the version of you that only speaks when spoken to. I'm talking about the real you, the one that's been screaming to come out. Nobody tells you this, but the blessing doesn't show up before you embody that version. It shows up because you do. So many chosen ones sabotage their breakthrough by hesitating right before it lands. They ask, "Why me?" instead of whispering, "Of course it's me." They overthink, over-apologize, over-analyze, and before they know it, the frequency of their new life slips back into the mist. You've come too far for that now. This is the moment to lean in, to stop dimming, to stop delaying, to hold the vision with relentless softness, the kind of faith that doesn't flinch. Now listen closely, because this matters. The version of life that's coming doesn't just bring external change, it brings internal truth. You'll start remembering things you forgot you knew. People will say you're different, but you're not different. You're restored. You're no longer playing by the same rules. You're not rushing. You're not begging. You're not striving. You're attracting. Because your energy is becoming magnetic to what was always meant for you. It was never your fault they didn't see it. It was never your fault they misunderstood you. They weren't meant to recognize you back then, because even you hadn't fully met yourself yet. But now, you're meeting the real you in real time. And so is the universe. This isn't a test of your worth. You've already passed that. This is a test of your readiness. Are you willing to receive what you once thought was too big for you? They tried to silence you, didn't they? They tried to tell you your dreams were unrealistic, your vision too wild, your faith too naive. But you held on, you healed, you kept walking even when you had to crawl. That's what alignment looks like, and now, because of that, you're finally aligned with a life that feels like home to your soul. This life doesn't require you to pretend. It doesn't need your mask, your guilt, or your spiritual disclaimers. This life is here to honor the warrior in you, the one who said yes to purpose when comfort was calling, the one who said yes to truth when denial would have been easier. This life is your reward. And listen, if this is waking something up in you, don't scroll away like it's just another video. This was meant for you. There's a moment in the life of every chosen one where everything starts to feel unfamiliar. Not because you're lost, but because you're no longer in survival mode. This is what arrival feels like. Now listen closely. The life you prayed for isn't a fantasy anymore. It's forming around you in real time. But this version of life speaks a different language. It speaks ease. It speaks alignment. It speaks truth without performance. You don't have to convince it to stay. You don't have to prove you're good enough to receive it. You just have to become the one who knows it was always yours. Nobody tells you this, but receiving is its own initiation. It's easy to hustle. It's easy to struggle. It's easy to chase. What's hard is allowing. Allowing yourself to be loved without conditions. Allowing yourself to be seen without shrinking. Allowing yourself to be blessed without guilt. But here's what you need to understand right now. The version of life that's coming to meet you is not based on your effort. It's based on your frequency. This means the more authentically you become, the faster the manifestations arrive. You're being sent the version of life you deserve because you passed the tests that no one else could see. You stayed kind when you were unseen. You stayed honest when it cost you. You stayed open when it hurt. And that is why this next season is yours. Now pause, really breathe that in. Because this is the part where most people self-sabotage. They feel the breakthrough coming, and they flinch. They panic. They go back to old habits because the new feels too big, too real, too good. But not you. You've walked through too many storms to second-guess the sunshine. You've cried on too many floors to question the blessing that's knocking now. You're no longer living on expired beliefs. You're no longer dimming your vision just to be digestible. And you're definitely not begging for crumbs from tables that weren't built for you. You built your own table. And now life is pulling up a chair. You're being relocated. Spiritually, emotionally, energetically, and yes, physically too. A wealthy stranger isn't just a metaphor, it's a symbol of the abundance that's been circling your field, looking for the smallest opening to enter. And guess what? You just created that opening. By believing, by choosing, by healing, by not quitting. So if you feel alone right now, know that isolation is the final cleanse before elevation. God separates before He promotes. The old life had to fall silent so you could hear the new one whispering. And now, it's time to walk in like you own the room. Because you do, this version of life was custom-made for the real you, not the you they told to be quiet, not the you that settled for survival, but the you who dares to rise beyond limitation. They tried to silence you, didn't they? But it didn't work, because chosen ones are built for the long game. They rise after every fall, and now it's your time to rise without interruption. This message is your green light. This frequency is your portal. This moment is your miracle. You didn't lose them. You outgrew their frequency. You didn't fail. You finished the initiation. You didn't imagine the calling. It's always been real. So now the real question is, can you let it be easy? Can you walk into this version of life with soft power and sharp vision? Can you stop waiting to be chosen and live like you already are? Because you are. You always have been.